and we're all going to miss him. That's a hard act to follow, and but I did want to talk a couple minutes about the land use planning update, give you folks an update on where we are. Ann alluded to it a little bit. We looked at over 30 companies. They were sent RFPs, requests for proposal, telling them what we thought we wanted to do and what we expected from them. We received 6 proposals, and of that number, a number of them came to visit the community. We also asked for best and final offers from the 2 that we thought were standouts, one from Kinston, and we ultimately awarded the contract to KCI Associates of Raleigh, North Carolina. We signed that contract on May 9th, which will start about a 24-week process. We were impressed with their proposal and their presentation to us, because they talked about, first and foremost, the kind of the Hippocratic oath, do no harm, don't degrade the value of property, try to increase the value of property. The number 2 was they talked about development of some sort of economic engine for Fairfield, which, as we know, when we want something, we have to pay for it. So we were intrigued by that insightful approach. And they talked a great deal about reimagining. I know we've talked about reinventing Fairfield. This is more of a reimagining of Fairfield. So we'll have to see what develops out of that process. But as you can see on this slide, their experience ranged from the Northeast, and I only put up a few of their qualifications, or their quals, they call it in the proposal business, but from Florida to the Northeast to Albemarle Plantation, Colonial Heritage, some of these places you'll hopefully recognize. But it's a very robust architecture and engineering firm, and we're happy to have them with us. We had an on-site review. Loaned them a couple of golf carts and a bunch of maps. This was the second or third time they'd been here during the proposal process, and gave them a couple of golf carts and said, okay, take off. We've also kept them apprised of things like the multifunctional facility working group and what they're looking at, the boat ramp interest groups, and so that and of course they got all the data from the Vision 385, the results of the Vision 385. So we didn't want them coming back to us and saying, and us having to say, hey, we've already thought of all that stuff. So it is truly a partnership between the community and this land use planner. Again, that on-site review was the 29th to 30th of May. We will be receiving, the board will be receiving what they call the preliminary conceptual master plan, scheduled for mid-July of this year. So we'll have a chance to take a look at that, validate whether it makes the direction they're going makes sense or not, and then they will come up with further recommendations. But again, it's a 24-week process, and we're looking forward to the results with great anticipation. So thank you.
Well, I'm the point person for the.
You have to speak more into the mic.
Hi, I'm the point person for the multifunctional facilities working group. Okay, and I know we've had one meeting with them, but it's all up there. I don't know if you can see it.
We can't hear you.
Okay.
We can't hear you.
Okay. I'm hoping you can see what they're doing, and they wanted. The mission was to generate rough ballpark estimates for a design and cost proposal timing for a multifunctional facility. And that's what they're working on right now. And what they're doing is reviewing the findings of Division 385 meetings, gathering community input, survey the needs and desires of Fairfield Harbor committees and social groups. And they're visiting existing facilities in other communities and developing preliminary findings for the presentation to the board. And I know they're all working on it now. Take questions later.
I'm short, so I'll bring it down. If you hear it, just let me know. You're good? All right. I'm here to represent Wayne Strasbaugh, who unfortunately is out learning how to drive monster trucks right now. So Mr. Adrenaline had a lot of responsibilities this year, and he, as Ann said, spearheaded the repairs to the inner harbor bulkheads, and that's what I'm going to talk about tonight. As Rich said, on the last day of 2016, the POA acquired a tract of open green space known as the 385, which included all the bulkheads along the inner harbor, shoreline, and birdland marinas. This is a picture of the bulkhead, about 900 Pelican moving down to Gondolier, and it gives you an idea of just that little sliver of the green space that we acquired. And if we go to the next slide, we'll see the bulkheads going up to the shoreline marina, again, from 900 Pelican on up. We acquired those bulkheads, and we knew that they had a lot of problems. They bowed, they're bent, they separated, and they're dilapidated. And we knew these problems needed to be addressed. And we knew if we ate this elephant one bite at a time, or for you seafaring folks at Kraken, one bite at a time, we knew we'd be successful in restoring the harbor. So, on behalf of the POA, Director Strasbaugh submitted RFPs to local marine contractors and ultimately settled on 2 firms to begin making repairs to the bulkheads and a 3rd company to provide repairs to the washed out culvert. The first repairs were made to the Birdland Marina. On the left you'll see the Birdland Marina before, with the seawall actually pitching towards the water. On the right you'll see the amount of work that was required to begin to pull those seawalls back in. And the next slide will show that wall pulled back in, straightened, tapped, all the way around the Birdland Marina, all 3 sides. And that'll be there for quite a few years to come for the enjoyment of the community and the sailors who set their boats down at that marina. Presently, half of the bulkhead repairs have been completed. 2 outlet culverts have been repaired, and the remaining 2018 repairs are currently under contract. For $85,000, all leaning bulkheads, except those at the Shoreline Marina, will have been repaired by the end of this year. The one remaining area not yet under contract for repair is the bulging bulkhead at Shoreline. Want to back up? That's okay. The reason is the Shoreline Marina has older vinyl bulkheads, and accordingly repairs cannot be performed, and replacement will be the option for approximately another $45,000. The issue is that work will be considered in 2019 or 2020, so that's going to be in the out years. The Harborside Boat Ramp bulkhead. Those of you who have small boats and use that area know that that bulkhead has been kind of falling into the water over time and just rotting away. And that boat ramp, bulkhead is going to be replaced and extended across the property to prevent any further erosion and continued loss of soil at the fishing pier entrance and the parking area. Financing for the project will come from reserve funds that are dedicated to that amenity, and the cost is estimated to be $13,000. Recently, from having a blowback tide, we identified that a culvert washout had created a shoal near Felucca Port along the inner harbor. And the POA is joining with a property owner-led dredging initiative, which some of you may be a part of, And we're going to have that shoal taken care of, and the cost to the POA for that one location will be $2,500. And the POA is also going to accept some spoils from the dredging project to offset some of the haul-off fees. Maintenance. As with all things, just take a look around, and maintenance is the key to the longevity of any asset. It's expected that 580 tie rods will be inspected and replaced over the next 5 to 8 years at a cost of approximately $22,000 per year to the entire seawall throughout the harbor. As well as every year, the tie rod nuts and washers will be replaced as needed at a cost of about $5,000 per year. I think that everybody knows now that Wayne Strasbell was the person who spearheaded this and basically worked with the engineers. And if you see him in the harbor, which I'm sure you will, just take a moment to thank him for a year's worth of hard work to bring those bulkheads back up into shape. Thank you.
I'm going to talk a little bit about a couple of committees. Ann alluded to the fact that the POA board would not be anywhere near as effective as we are. We didn't have volunteers who were willing to give their time and efforts to get some of the things done that we need to get done around the harbor. The first committee we're talking about is the Property Evaluation Committee. We currently have, Rich mentioned that we had 170 lots last year. We've managed to sell quite a number of those. For those of you who are interested, there are two major developers who are moving into the harbor. They have purchased a number of lots. One of them has submitted plans for I think 5 different dwellings. They intend to start building houses. The first house that's going to go up is going to be a spec house, and it's to be right at the gate. There's a lot right there, 700 Cara, which is the first lot after you turn right. And I'm sure you've seen the stakes there. Well, once the plans are approved by our PCC, that's where they're going to start. There's another company who has something like 13 lots that they've purchased. One of the things we did was, with the 150 lots, we needed to sell them. Our whole idea was we needed to get the dues. I mean, that was the real reason for trying to get to sell them. At the same time, because of the way the economy was, there wasn't a lot of money you could get for a lot. We tried selling them at $7,500. We had no takers. So basically, we went back and reduced the price significantly. That caught the interest of some folks who are, I guess you would call them factors, people who come in and they buy lots, and they hold them until developers come in, and then they sell them to the developers. So it's kind of a middleman kind of deal. And we have 1 or 2 of those people working in the harbor right now. So they acquire these lots, ones that they think they could. And the other thing they do for us is they encourage developers to come into the harbor to build homes, because they want to sell those lots. So that has turned out to be a very good deal. That's worked out very well for us. At this time, we have 47 lots for sale. The prices on the lots are ranging from $6,000 to $10,000. A lot depends on the views, whether you're on a golf, you have an open view at the back. There are 10 additional lots that we have reserved over and above as part of the, over and above 47. 9 of those are around Great Inaugural. As we were selling the lots last year, I noticed that there were several lots, 3 or 4 lots, right around Great Inaugural, which backs up on Red Sea. And the thought was, if we can get enough of these lots together, if we want to do ever want to do any expansion on Redstale, expansion of the park, that would be ideal. And there's not a lot of interest in Greater Nagua in terms of people building houses anyway, but so we're holding on to those for a while. If it turns out that we're not going to do it, then we'll sell it. But for now, I think it's worthwhile to keep those lots. The other lot we're holding is one lot which is right next door to the cart barn. If you get on Pelican, just past the cart barn, there's a vacant lot. It's on the other side of that swale. We decided that that was also one that we probably ought to hold on to see if, once we start looking at the development there, whether that would make sense to incorporate that in our plans. None of these lots have been turned into common property. We're paying taxes on them, but the idea is if they're not common property, we can still sell them. So we're just going to hold on to those until then. I have a spreadsheet of the addresses of the lots. I tried to put it up here, but you really need a microscope to see the things. So if you want to see what's out there and the asking price for the lots, I will put copies in the POA office. You can ask Kate, and she'll be happy to give you a copy. So that's all, and that's all there is on lots. The other committee I want to talk about is called the Covenants Enforcement Committee. This is a new committee. It was just formed this year. We recognized as time went on, particularly with the office, that in order to attract new residents into the harbor, we kind of needed to clean our act up a little bit. There are many people, there are some people who are less than, how could I say it, less than able, I guess, to maintain their property the way they should. There are issues with grass, there are issues with garbage cans, there are issues with trailers, there are issues with boats. So we formed this committee, and to my surprise, there was a good bit of interest in it. So there are several teams, there's probably 4 or 5 teams. They're not going to be named, whose only job it is to go out and identify a violation. The purpose of this is not to kill people. The purpose of it is to help people make the harbor more attractive. Some of it, a lot of it, is just people don't know. I mean, there are people that, for instance, don't realize that if you have a above ground tank, propane tank, beside your house, it's supposed to be screened, so you can't see it from the street. And I mean, I saw one comment from somebody said, well, that thing's been like that for 28 years. Well, I'm sorry. You know, that's the rule. That's all we do, is we try to enforce the rules. So if you see these folks, you might thank them for doing a really thankless job, because that's tough. Nobody on the committee is allowed to go into their own neighborhood. They have to go into somebody else's neighborhood. So at least we give them that. The other thing that the committee does is they do not, they're told not to interface with people. If somebody comes out yelling and screaming, they're to tell them to talk to the office. We've loaded all this on Jennifer. So if somebody's really ticked off, they can talk to her. She'll smile and make it all better. Thank you.